we? Okay. Okay, something a bit different today. I wanted to share. Been having some nice discussions in my little WhatsApp community about Ashtanga practice and when we practice and how long for, and how many different components will impact how long and when, and all of those things. So I think it's important to remember that if you go to a retreat, if you go anywhere that is giving you a sort of concentrated amount of time to do your practice, so say if you go to Mysore, if you go to a retreat, an idea of a 6-day-a-week practice of doing your, like doing some quite rigorous, like dynamic work, focused work, is far easier when you're removed from your everyday life and tasks, whether that's to do with family, work, commitments, so many different components. So it's, well, how much is enough? And it's like, well, just a minute, a second is enough. But we tend to get fixed on this idea that the only way that we can deem ourselves having a practice day is if we're doing, an hour and a half full primary or second or whatever series you're working on, when it doesn't really work. And it's never been my experience that, other than when I remove myself from my normal day-to-day life, only then will I have, and I'm in a retreat setting or a workshop setting or some sort of intensive, then I will have this sort of abundance of energy to throw into my practice. But a lot of the time it's more about maintenance, and it's more about shorter time frames, but being able to still have something that feels impactful and feels concentrated and focused. So in saying that, I thought just actually sharing a class, so I'll do it for 30 minutes, based on the primary series. So this idea of, well, what's the primary series? What is it? And I would say it's largely starting on a very physical level. It's why we start at the primary series. It starts very physical. It starts very anatomical. It starts a lot about the structure. And you obviously have the standing sequence, you have your Surya Namaskaras, you have your standing sequence. That stays set. That's like, regardless if you're doing second, third, fourth advanced series, you will always have the sun salutations and the standing sequence. So primary series really starts at Utthita Hasta Parangrishtasana. And there we're really looking at, if we look at the peak posture of the primary series, we have our Supta Kamasana. We have a very deep external hip rotation, the sort of deepest you can get, which is leg behind the head, with a deep, deep hip flexion, followed by a very strong internal rotation of the arms. So your hip opening is obviously that opening spiral, which is this. You arrive eventually in your Baddha Konasana. But before that, we have a whole series of postures that is encouraging external rotation at the hip. Okay? Active hip external rotation to start opening the hip joint, which is why people get, so stuck with primary series for a long time, because our hips are generally, the common theme I see is that we have very tight hips and very tight shoulders. So the primary series is challenging because it's asking us to sort of go back to a sense of the womb and what we were like as little babies. And when we were in that fetal position in the womb, was this curved, flexed position, not so much Supta Kamasana, but there is a sense of drawing in, hugging in. That's how we're born into the world before we come out. So the primary series, in essence, is taking us back to that. It's taking us back to that childlike sense of like, this is how you can observe babies doing this quite easily. They'll be sat in their Baddha Konasana position, and they'll be quite comfortable. But the majority, me included, of people I'm teaching, and my own experience has been, you start here. Hips are just so, so tight. So before we get to Baddha Konasana, what do we have? We have a lot of active external hip rotation, and we have a lot of active shoulder internal rotation. So you can say it's external and opening spiral of the hips, and you can say it's a grounding spiral of the arms. So we're sort of going through that journey with the primary series to sort of structure, realign our bodies, which is why we do a lot of the asymmetrical poses before we eventually get to our Kumasana, before we get to Garbha Pindasana, which is What's that? That's our embryo pose. That's what it translates to. Garbha Pindasana is embryonic pose, which is your full lotus. Pretend my arms have gone through and you are holding yourself up. Embryonic, and only then are you birthed into the world after rolling on your back 9 times to then arrive in your seat of Baddha Konasana. Okay? So there's a journey that we're going on. It's not just pointless, it's not mindless, it's not put at random. There is intelligence to this practice. So what can we do in 30 minutes that gets into a nice external hip rotation, a nice rounding, flexion of the spine, and how can we get into our internal shoulder rotation? Okay, and there's lots of postures you might start thinking now, like, oh yeah, that standing pose. We do this, or we, try and reverse prayer. And we're working a lot of the time with external hip rotation. So it's all sort of there before we get to that peak pose. So without further ado, we'll do a 30. I'm going to really try and keep it to 30 minutes. So it's 3:15 now. I'm going to try and keep it to 30 minutes. And what postures can we focus on that really actively get us working into that? So it's like the equivalent of an hour and a half, 2-hour practice, like if you're blessed to have the time. Like it's not always doable. And I've done this for nearly 10 years and I'm not doing 6-day-a-week practice full power. So I'm out of my normal day-to-day. So you can follow along if you want, or you can just watch, or you save it for later. And if you want a 30-minute practice, this is your opportunity. But we have 30 minutes. So we will start standing. I'll start with the opening mantra. Take a deep breath in. Vande Gurunam Charanaravinda Sandarshita Swatma Sukha Vapurhi Nisharyase Jangali Kayamane Samsara Hala Hala Moha Shanti Abahu Purushakaram Shankachakasi Tharinam Sahasra Shirasam Shwetam Pranamami Patanjalim. Exhale, release the hands. So this will be a taster of a lead class with me. What does that look like? So I just need to check. I think I've got enough space to move around. I can't get any further. Oh no, I found it. I'll go there. Okay. So starting in Samastiti. We start with integrity. We're not just standing. We are Samastitiing. We are equal balance through both feet. Pressing the big toes down, spreading the toes if you can, feeling the heel of the foot press down, and then engaging up through the legs. A sense of your bandhas, so we're drawing up of the pelvic floor, in of the lower belly, directing the breath up into the rib cage. And then we'll repeat a couple of sun salutation A, 1B, and then we'll start moving through. So A, come inhale, raise the arms. Doi, exhale, fold forward. You can start with bent knees, keeping it soft. Trini, inhale, lengthen, really try and push into the hands. Chaturanga, exhale, step all the way back, pause, and then exhale, lower down. Pancha, inhale, lead with the heart. Shut, exhale. Shuffle the feet forward. I'm thinking of keeping my legs active, my hands active. We're in a half inversion here, moving towards handstand, so our shoulders are strong. Engaging into the armpits, drawing the arms into their sockets. 3. Inhale. Exhale, 4. Inhale. Exhale, 5. Here I think of that strong hip flexion as I come up onto the hands, and then I'm drawing my leg into my abdomen as tight as I can to try and step all the way forward. Keep that movement slow, inhaling, lengthen. And then Ashto, exhale, fold. Another inhale, raise the arms, look to thumbs. Exhale, Samastiti. Second round. Ekam inhale. 2, exhale. 3, inhale. 4, exhale. Shut, inhale. Shut, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhaling. Exhale. 5, again, seeing if you can really push through the hands. Maybe a little hop to get to the front, keeping it slow. Inhale, lengthen. Ashto, exhale, fold. Another inhale, raise the arms. Exhale, Samastiti. One round of Surya Namaskara B. Sinking low. Ekam inhale. 2, exhale. 3, inhale, lengthen. 4, exhale, step or jump back. Pancha, inhale. Shut, exhale. Range your feet, right foot forward. Left heel plants down, Sapta. Ashta. Another, inhale. Pasha. Exhale. Left foot forward, right heel plants down, Ekadasha. Dwadasha, hands down, stepping back, lower down. Inhale, upward facing. Chaturasha, exhale, downward facing. Inhale. Exhale, neutral spine. Make sure you can feel the lengthening as you really press down through the legs. So really active into the legs, active into the hands. 4 and 5. Panchadasha, inhale. Shodasha, exhale. Saptadasha, inhale. Exhale, Samastiti. Let's do Padangusthasana, so forward fold. You're going to step your feet hip distance apart, I'll show. Hip distance apart, so here we're working actively into hip flexion again. So that's hip distance. And a long inhale, folding forward, take your peace fingers around the big toes, lengthening when you're there. Try and hollow out the lower belly a bit, and then you exhale, fold, actively drawing yourself into flexion. So not relying on your arms, not pulling with all your strength through the arms, trying to make that movement. The abdomen, tying your rib cage and your pelvis together. 3, 4, and 5. 3, inhale, lengthen. We'll leave it there, so exhale, hands to waist, and then inhale to come up. Exhale, Samastiti. Trikonasana A, really nice way to again start actively working into the external hip rotation. So inhale, step your right foot back, feet about leg length distance, right toes pointing towards the back. So here, actively opening the right hip, arms wide, and then exhale, I begin to reach down, thigh, shin, big toe, whatever means that you can keep actively working the external hip rotation. I'm now thinking of broadening the chest, reaching up to the sky. 2, 3, 4, 5. Really strong into the legs as I come all the way up. Right toes in, left toes forward. Again, that left hip moves so I can reach down, actively opening, engaging into the left thigh. Look up to my fingertips, stay for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pancha, inhale to come up. Exhale, Samasthiti. Utthita Parshvakonasana. So again, a nice example of external hip rotation. You'll inhale, step the right foot back, a bit wider. Lift the right toes. Again, point, and it's good to watch your knee, your right knee, as you start to bend it, because naturally it might want to collapse in if you're tight here. So the game is that you're actively engaging as you open the right hip out to the side. So I can see my knee hasn't collapsed in. Open, arms wide. Exhale, hand on the thigh, outside of the right leg or to the floor. But keep working, especially if you've got your hand down. Keep opening your right leg into your right arm. Make that connection. 3, 4, press down through the left foot. 5, Pancha, inhale. Switching sides, keeping an eye on that naughty little left knee. Make sure it stays open, arms wide, and then I exhale, repeat. So arm rests. But I stay active in the legs. Look to your right fingertips. 1, 2, get a sense of that left hip opening into the arm. So that's 4, 5. Pancha, inhale to come up. And then exhale, Samasthiti. Prasarita Padottanasana. We're again working on that wideness, folding flexion. We'll do A and B because that means that we can get into some of that internal hip rotation, internal shoulder rotation. So A, come inhale, step your right foot back again, hands to waist. A, inhale, and then Dway, exhale, folding forward. Again, focusing on the hands, so from the side. We're really actively working that opening of the hips. As my hands press down, inhale, lengthen, press through the big toes, press through the balls of the foot, roll the thighs out, and then exhale as you begin to fold again. I'm thinking of actively folding. That's where the strength comes from, your hip flexors. You're trying to fold your body as far as possible. Because if you keep going, bend your knees, you end up being Supta Komasana and Bhujapadasana. So it's this folding action. Stay for 5. 1, 2, I've lost my mat now, lost my grip. 3, 4, 5. Inhale, you lengthen, push through the hands. Exhale, hands to waist. And then inhale to come up. So C gives us the opportunity to work with the hands behind the back. So either interlacing, if that feels too far away, or sorry, too narrow, and it feels too constricted, you kind of want to find some freedom, you can hold the edge of a block or take a belt. But we are again interlacing behind, straightening the arms. Think of lifting the chest, and then exhale as you begin to fold. You are then actively moving your hands away from your hips. So again, you're focusing on this sort of connection between your legs and your abdomen, folding you forward. You're focusing on opening through the shoulder blades. So I'm thinking of drawing my shoulder blades together. And I keep actively working. It's a strong pose. 4, 5. Bend the knees a little bit. Inhale to come up. Exhale there. You would then inhale the arms wide on Pancha. Exhale, go back to Samasthiti. Another nice way to get internal shoulder rotation and really work actively into the legs, we have Parshvottanasana. So you can either hold your hands behind your back, you can wiggle your hands to your forearms, your elbows. If you've got super open shoulders and wrists, you take reverse prayer. But again, it's this internal grounding spiral of the arm that we're working with. And we again want to be strong here. So So I'm not passively hanging out. I'm then engaging, drawing my shoulder blades together, opening the front of the chest. And then on an inhale, step the right foot back, pivot to face the back of the mat. A little bit of width for the legs, so I just send that left leg out to the side a bit. Inhale, draw the right hip back. Exhale, I begin to fold. My legs are staying straight and active. I'm not collapsing forward into that right leg. I keep the integrity of the straight line, even if that means I'm just here, rather than trying to fold all the way down, losing that lengthening. And then when you're there, focus on your breathing. 1, 2, check the hips, make sure you can feel that right hip drawing back, left hip drawing forward, 5, there. And then Trini, inhale to come up, again strong in the legs. My legs don't stop working. But until I reach Shavasana, my legs are engaged. Okay, inhale, again lengthen, left hip draws back. Exhale, fold forward. Again, not sacrificing this active leg here to bend, just so you can fold forward. You're keeping it straight. Keep pressing through the left big toe. 3, 4, and 5. Strong in the legs. Inhale to come up, take the arms wide, and then exhale, Samasthiti. Okay, I want us to look at Virabhadrasana B, because it's also a nice option to find some real deep external hip rotation with some strength, and then we'll come to seated. So from Samasthiti through a sun salutation, Ekam inhale, raise the arms. Dway, exhale, fold. Trini, inhale, lengthen. Chaturanga, exhale, step or jump back. Strong Chaturanga. Pancha, inhale. Shut, exhale. So we'll do the full Virabhadrasana sequence actually. So right foot forward, left heel grounds down. A little bit of width maybe, and then you can bend into the right leg, keep drawing back. Stable through both legs. Inhale, we raise the arms. Palms together if comfortable, looking up. 3. Skipped a bit there because I was talking. 4. 5. And then we twist around to the other side. So on Ashtau, pivoting all the way around, re-establish your foundation, wiggle your feet as needed, look up to the fingertips. 1, 2, keep driving forward into the left knee. 3, 4, 5. I need to do the left side, but it's easier if you can see me, so I'll turn around. So you open up into Virabhadrasana B. So you go from here on the left side, keep the left knee bent, but now I'm rotating my body, rotating the side of the body, bending into the left knee, grounding through the right leg. Keep opening, so you can grab your hand and just feel that sort of muscle spiraling motion as it opens out to the side. Strong base, arms wide, look over your left fingertips. We'll call that 3. 4, 5. I'm then going to start moving the legs to the right side. Again, allowing the feet to adjust as necessary. So I like to think heel to heel, maybe take it a bit wider, get a bit deeper, keep opening that right hip out to the side, and then with the spine long, arms active and straight, you look over your right fingertips. 1, 2, you might need to do a check-in halfway through, make sure that your right hip is still externally rotating out to the side, grounding down through the left leg. 4, 5, pivoting back around because I'm facing the wrong way. From there, we then put the hands down. We're doing a handstand today. No, we're not. We're going to lower. Inhaling to upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Doing a few seated postures now. So coming through to seated. We're doing well for time. So legs out in front. Let's get a feel of that Dandasana position, which is strong active legs, long spine, strong spine, sitting tall out through the crown of the head. Staying here for 5. 1, 2, bent knees or sitting on a block if that's meaning your spine is rounded. We want tall, lengthening spine. 4, 5. For time's sake, we'll just do one Paschimottanasana. So reaching forward again, either sat on a block, bending the knees, whatever means that you can ideally reach forward, either take the sides of the shins or place fingers around the big toes. Inhale, lengthen. Draw your shoulders away from the ears, really engage into the body. That's how I describe it, like I'm making my arms part of my body rather than just extending out, drawing in, engaging the muscles. Inhale, lengthen there, and then exhale as you begin to fold. Try and make that movement again come from the abdomen. So we're working into flexion, active flexion, which basically means I can hold myself here without my hands. I can hold myself here through the strength of hip flexors, abdominals. Okay? 3. Really engage into that flexion as well. Don't worry too much about flat back. Enjoy the feeling of flexion. 4. 5. Inhale into extension. Exhale, release. You can do a full vinyasa or a half vinyasa just to keep the heat going. Inhale, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing. Stop the inhale, jump through. And then we'll do Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana, a bit of a mouthful. But that's taking into account what we're looking for later in the sequence. So external hip rotation of the right leg, either placing it into a figure 4 position or up into the groin if you're practicing half lotus. And then that right arm is wrapping back and round. So that's your internal hip, internal grounding spiral of the arm with opening external hip rotation. Okay, so we're combining those two elements that we need later in Supta Kamasana. So from here, inhale, if you can grab the foot, if not a belt works quite nicely. Exhale, fold. 1, minimum 5 breaths. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, we lengthen the front of the chest. Exhale, release. I'll show what a sort of half vinyasa looks like. So I'll normally just inhale, lift, exhale down, and then I'll inhale, extend the spine. So I'm still working with the breath count and the spinal movements. Exhale, round. And then inhale, jump through. Is that Chaturdarsha? I think so. So left side, opening the left hip and lifting, finding either that half bound lotus with the figure 4 position or up into the groin. So I'll show now what I normally get my students doing when we're very tight in the hips, is you stay in that figure 4 position. You place your left hand on the outside of the knee and you think press down into the hand, which for me and for my students engages the external hip rotators, which is where we are opening the hip from. It's not about pushing, okay, and putting all that pressure on your poor knee. The hips need to open up. The foot, the ankle needs to open up, not the knee, okay? So if you're working there, sometimes I'll then grab a belt for people and it'll be wrapped around the foot into the hand. So I've got my grounding spiral of the shoulder, opening spiral of the hip. And then from there, I'll just say to people, fold. And it might just be there. And then over time, as things open up, that can move more into a half lotus position. Maybe. We stay here for 5, 3, 4, 5. There. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. Maybe we'll do a full vinyasa just to make up for the shortness of time. Really appreciate every time you get a chance to do an extension of the spine. So upward dogs, anything that means you're extending a little bit before when you come in and you're like, inhale, lengthen. I really mean it. Inhale, lengthen, extend the spine before you work into the fold. Otherwise, it's just a lot of forward folding, and that's when I've had back problems, when I didn't really appreciate and extend into my spine here. So that's a little clue. I'm already running a little bit behind, but I wanted to show. So external hip rotation, yes. Ardha Baddha, Padmasana, Padma, Paschimottanasana. Janu Shashasana, again, hip opening. We've got the A, B, and C variations. And then we come to the Marichyasanas, and I think they're really important for the work a bit later. So it's not just about opening, it's about also really being able to actively draw your leg into your body, because that shows up later in Bhujangasana, and your Kumasanas is this, everything drawing in, hugging in. So Marichasana, sit A will do, which is bringing your right leg in, really try to do that as actively as possible without using your hands. Bit of space between the feet, little bit of space. And then I'll get people to firstly focus on, so the leg position there, maybe sat on a block if you need a bit more height, a bit more length in the spine. And then that right arm is wrapping on the inside of the right leg, drawing in. So we've got our nice internal, we're coming to the internal rotation of the shoulder. But first it might be that you begin here, and then over time, when you get internal rotation, either using a belt here. The secret with Marichasana, they're really strong poses. My right foot's pressing down, and I'm thinking about coming forward. And again, I'm then drawing my shoulder blades together to help encourage that forward momentum. So this is the same hand position we're in with Supta Komasanas. Okay, so here, 5 breaths. Really working in that pose. Inhale, again, extend. Release. Maybe a half vinyasa with a lift in lengthening, rounding, leg out in front, left leg comes in. So that's again, actively working, drawing that foot in, and then coming on the inside. It might be that you just focus on the forward fold to begin with, just getting used to that hip flexion, drawing in, and then eventually it might be that you're binding hands or belt, but you're working on that internal shoulder rotation at all times in these poses, and then you're really drawing the shoulder blades together to draw the abdomen forward, press through the left foot, and then fold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, extension. Exhale, release. And then for time's sake, because we only have 5 minutes left, this will be a very short closing sequence, the kind of shortest that you can make it while still getting the benefits. So especially considering this is keeping it to a 30-minute practice. We can't do everything. We can't do all the poses. But what we can do is a nice strong Dhanurasana to sort of counter all of the forward bending we've done. So bringing the heels close into the hips, lifting as you lift, directing the pelvis up, directing my sternum, back. I wiggle onto my shoulders, press down. 1, press through the feet. 2, really connect with the heel of the foot and the ball of the foot, connecting all into the back line of the body, strengthening. 3, 4, 5, exhale, lower all the way down. Traditionally we do 3 of those, but for today's purposes, we'll do 1, knees in, rock up to seated, and then we will do 5 breath forward fold. So Paschimottanasana, you can keep it quite passive, just sort of countering that bit of hip extension, spinal extension. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, extend. Exhale, release. Some sort of inversion. Pick your favorite, shoulder stand or headstand. We only have a few minutes if I'm trying to keep to my 30 minutes. So shoulder stand, legs nice and engaged. Inhale, lifting, find some momentum. We'll stay here for 8 breaths. Slow the breathing, still classing it as a closing sequence to settle the body, settle the mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep reaching the feet up to the ceiling. 6, 7, 8. Then slowly lowering down. Going to do just a little mini halasana there before rolling out. And all this bit you can do controlled. So keeping in mind that we work with the abdomen. So doing this slowly really helps the other parts of the sequence. Okay, rather than collapsing down. It takes time to build that. But we can just use these opportunities to walk, move slowly, mindfully, release the legs back down. Pause for a moment. And then a slight rocking back. And inhale to come up. And then we're doing it. Shavasana doesn't count in this 30 minutes. I'll say that now. So the last 3 poses, we have the last 3 lotuses, Padmasana. So either just cross-legged, you can again sit the hips up. If you're working half lotus, work half lotus. If you're working full lotus, we're in full lotus. But we have another opportunity to find internal shoulder rotation. So if you can, either holding the elbows, perhaps you're holding the feet, you can grab belts, there's plenty of ways to do this, but I'm again, internal hip shoulder rotation, shoulder blades moving together, and then you can fold forward as far as you wish, stay for a few breaths. We'll just cut it down to 5, just for time's sake. 3, 4, 5. Inhale to come up. These should all be 10, but for today. Bringing your hands into your Jana or Chin Mudra. Someone can correct me with that. I always forget. Hands resting on top of the knees, staying for 5. 1, 2, drawing up the pelvic floor, in with the lower belly. 5 breaths. And if you've got the energy for 5 to 10 breaths in your Utplutihi, then you can join me. But hands come forward. You can do this with blocks, you can do this cross-legged, half lotus, full lotus, but you are coming forward, lifting for 5 breaths. 1, 2, keep lifting, engage through the shoulders, engage through the armpits. 3, 4, 5, exhale, lower down, unravel the legs. You can just sit cross-legged. I'll end with the closing mantra. So sitting tall, deep breath in. Swasti prajabhyah paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahishaha go brahmanebhyah shubhamastu nityam loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And then releasing the hands, and then you would have your 5 to 10 minute Shavasana. Very important. So that's that. That's an option of a 30-minute practice. Obviously, the list is endless of how you can sort of arrange the poses to sort of suit the time that you have. Because when you're a long-term practitioner, you recognize that you have the framework and how wonderful, and at points in your life that will be very useful to have that guidance, to have that discipline. But there are times in your life which, and I know this speaks for many of us, if you have other commitments, if you have other things going on, that sometimes you just need the 30-minute, 15-minute, 10 minute, 45 minute, 1 hour, hour and a half, mixed in with your fuller length practices. So it's not to pull anything away from the framework to make it not Ashtanga. It's still very much Ashtanga, and it's still very much based on the sequencing and the intelligence behind it and how it's working with the body. So if I was doing a 30-minute, which would be much harder for me, but a 30-minute practice focused on intermediate series, very different. How I would be preparing my body, how I would be practicing the sun salutations, the standing poses. There's a different intention. So you slide on this spectrum with Ashtanga of sometimes just needing that set framework. Other times you need play and you need to be curious and you need exploration. And the likes of, I know David Swenson was a big character in creating, short forms, and he got a bit of shit for it, but it's been really transformative as this practice has clearly grown and evolved over time. So it's just giving ourselves that space, that room for play, which is just really vital if you're going to be a long-term practitioner for anything. So that's why I wanted to show that. I felt a bit inspired, and I've been re-listening to a lot of John Scott lately, and he has always, that's why I did my teacher training through his lineage, because I find his way of talking about the primary series and Ashtanga in general very, he's all about curiosity and playing and understanding the human. And, the likes of Adam Keane, the likes of Carmen, the list is endless. So that's me done. I'm glad I got to share that. And I'm just going to check. Do I practice primary series every day? Nope, I do not. I sort of ebb and flow between primary, intermediate, sun salutations, all of that sort of stuff. Hello, Summer. Lots of white love hearts from you. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and watching. I am now absolutely ravenous and will go and have my lunch. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. And you're done as well. End stream.